Well, hello. I am Liza Rogers, the founder of WREN, the Women's Real Estate Network, and today I am sitting here with my very good friend Esther Sarlo.
Hey.
Hi, Esther.
Hey.
Great to have you here.
Thanks. It's so good to be here.
It's terrific. And we're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, which is co-housing. And we really want to focus on this on a few of the podcasts coming up because it's going to be a globally growing topic. There are going to be lots of opportunities for co-housing coming up in Canada, especially here in Vancouver and surrounding areas. And the trend is just going to grow. Mm-hmm. And we're in a time right now where that is really going to become apparent when we come out of the time that we're in right now.
Yes, indeed.
We're recording this at the time of the dreaded coronavirus. And so people are in isolation, and we know that social isolation is going to have a huge impact on people's mental health. And one of the things that co-housing does is brings you out of that solitary loneliness place.
For sure.
And puts you in a situation where you're living with people, and sometimes you wish you could be alone.
Every now and then.
Every now and then.
It does happen.
But there are some massive health benefits to living in co-housing. Health benefits, wealth benefits, all kinds of things. So today we're going to talk about some general ideas around co-housing, and Esther's going to share with us what brought her to co-housing, and we're going to talk about some of the benefits and some of the challenges, and what does the future look like? What are the options out there? One of my dreams for the future is getting a bunch of my best girlfriends and buying a mansion in Mexico.
Woohoo!
Or Portugal, or Thailand, or wherever, and living in the dream house. I mean, with remote working these days, there's no reason why we can't do that, and economies of scale make it actually quite affordable. So I'm not going to a retirement home. Are you going to a retirement home?
I'm not going to retirement. I'll come and visit you at one of those houses and stay for a little bit, and then come back to Vancouver.
Excellent. Sounds great. So let's dive in. So Esther,
Sure.
I want to know, what made you decide that you wanted to live in co-housing?
Well,
Share.
To be quite honest, it was an accident. Because I, like many people, I'm in my 50s, so I, like many people of my age, have looked back at our 20s, our teens in our 20s, and said, you know what? I've been a little bit burned by my roommate experiences in the past, and that's it. I'm done. There's too much conflict. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to live by myself. And unless I have a partner, and even then,
there's
live
always
close.
dishes.
Yeah, exactly. Live close, visit often is often a very humorous way to put it. But so it was kind of an accident. Some friends of mine decided to go to Thailand and rent a big house, and they invited my partner, Bill, and myself. And so we went spontaneously. A whole bunch of things that were planned didn't turn out at all. Just like in many different countries that aren't here, what you expect may or may not happen. Mm-hmm. But we had such a good time, and it was a 10,000 square foot house, and very uncomfortable furniture, because that's kind of how it is in Thailand. Mm-hmm. I love Thailand, but it was just different.
Yeah.
So many things were different. But we had such a good time, and we shop for food, and we cooked together, and we did so many fun things, and didn't think anything more of it, really. But when we came back to Vancouver, a number of our friends' situations changed, and my partner at the time said, you know, why don't we think about this, sharing a house? We didn't call it co-housing because it wasn't really a term then, or at least not one that we'd heard of.
And that's one of those things that it's still evolving, right? Co-housing,
Totally.
Co-living. I mean, I kind of make jokes about everything is co-sharing, cohabitating, co-traveling, co-working. It's
exactly.
These terms are all going to get shaken down over the next little while we figure out what it all is.
Absolutely. And it's really not a new concept. Mm-hmm. It's an old or ancient concept that everybody used to do, and in some parts of the world are still doing all the time. We've just become this isolated thing. And I know, Liza, you have a talk on that about what happened after World War II, so we won't go into that today. But anyway, it's not a new idea, but for us here living in the Western world, mm-hmm. in North America, we've just been so isolated, even in a time that's not been quote unquote self-isolation.
Right.
So we came to this idea and said, well, let's look for a big house. Let's see if there's something available. We didn't even know. We just started looking, and I checked all kinds of resources, and I ended up finding a whole bunch on Craigslist. Who knew?
And it was big houses that you were looking for. And I think that's one of the keys.
Yeah.
Is, when you've got a group of people living together, you can look for larger homes. And economies of scale means that, a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom home is actually going to be less expensive than a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yes. For
surprise,
sure.
Surprise.
Yeah, and you're sharing space, you're sharing furniture, you're sharing parking spaces, you could share cars. It depends just on how people create it. So we started looking. We looked in North Van, we looked in West Van, we looked in the west side of Vancouver, we looked downtown, we looked on the east side of Vancouver, we looked everywhere, and including Burnaby. Burnaby at the time felt a little bit far out, like, oh wow, that's a long drive. I laugh now because it's really not. Although it is difficult in rush hour, but so is going from the east side of Vancouver all the way out to UBC. It's about the same amount of drive, maybe even less to Burnaby. So anyway, we looked at houses because I'm in my 50s, so we looked at houses from a perspective of someone in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we weren't looking for a house with 8 rooms and 1 bathroom. No thanks. So we wanted a little bit more luxury than that for ourselves. So that was our value. That doesn't mean it's bad and wrong. Some people would be fine with that. We know somebody who has a house and there are 11 people and they share 1 bathroom. Oh my gosh.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know how they do it, and kudos to them.
And I think, again, there's a key in this is that there are luxury properties that you can live in co-housing.
Yes.
So it's not student housing.
No.
It's not, a frat house.
No.
These are luxury, large family properties with lots of bedrooms, lots of bathrooms, sometimes multiple kitchens or multiple living spaces, potentially lots of outdoor space, and there's a number of them out there.
Absolutely. I know you've done some research on that, and I was shocked when I started just on Craigslist. You get to put in your criteria and ask for the amount of bathrooms you want, the kind of space, and we started looking at houses, and it became a really fun experience, an experiment to go, okay, most of the houses we looked at were lovely, but not all of them were suitable for what we wanted. Somebody else, it would have been perfect. For a family, it might have been a great thing. So we came to realize what our size requirements were, because hallways were a thing, how many bathrooms, because we all wanted our own bathrooms associated with every bedroom. So it was just fun to explore and go see those houses. And we found one in North Burnaby. And we all kind of looked at each other and said, oh, that's kind of far out. But, it is near the SkyTrain station, so I think we can navigate for the person who didn't have a vehicle. And the rest of us had cars, so it wasn't fine. We didn't have to navigate a bridge for commuting, so that was kind of cool. Anyway, and we settled into that house and had 1 year in that house. And one day, this is a funny little part of the story, we came into one of the living rooms, and there were mushrooms growing in the house, in through the carpet and on the walls, and we went, I think there might be a water problem here.
So just in case you didn't hear that, there were mushrooms growing in the house.
In the carpet.
So, yeah, definitely a little bit of an issue there.
Yes.
So you decided to get the heck out of that one.
Yes.
Now, just out of curiosity, how many people were living in that house with you?
There were 4 people altogether, myself and 3 other adults.
Great.
In our 50s and 60s.
Awesome.
At the time, yeah.
Terrific. And so you've now continued on to the next house.
Yeah, we decided all to stay together.
Yeah.
Because we had anticipated staying there for 3 years with an option to renew for perhaps another 3 years. So we'd all settled in and then went, plans change. Somehow life is like that.
So it wasn't the 4 people that were like, we don't want to live together anymore. This was a group of people who, this isn't the right house for us, but we're enjoying this and seeing the value of it so much that we're going to take the same group and we're going to go and move to the next house.
Yes, that's how it worked out.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then since then, we've had some people who've come, who've gone. We've had 5 people, we've had 6 people. Now we have 7 adults and a baby, and it's awesome.
Truly multi-generational
exactly.
and multi-ethnic.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a cool space.
Yeah, and it's great because we eat such healthy food because we combine with each other, and that's our model. Not everybody would necessarily do that. We get exposed to lots of music because we have musicians in the house. There's beautiful art. Sometimes it feels like we live in an art gallery. So
fantastic.
There's just so many great things about it.
Yeah.
And some
challenges.
And some challenges too.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the challenges and how you work around those challenges? We know there's lots of benefits, and we can probably talk even more about those.
For sure.
There's benefits to your health. There's benefits to your pocketbook. There's benefits to your social calendar. I mean, oh my goodness, so many great things. But there are still a lot of people out there who are going to say, oh my God, you people are crazy.
Yeah.
You must all be like crazy hippies. You must be living in a cult. And it's like, no, a lot of people that are living in co-housing these days are professional business people, and it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not for everybody. It's a lifestyle choice. So tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you have faced and how you overcome them.
For sure. So one of the things I like to say to people when I'm talking about this, which I find myself talking about frequently when people find out what we're actually doing, they're very curious. I say it's not for the faint of heart. So especially in our context, we're all strong individuals, and maybe not everybody would be that. There might be some people who are more reticent to say what their thoughts are, and we're not in this household, which is probably a really good thing. But sometimes I think in all contexts, no matter what your personality style or type is, or your communication style is, you're going to come up against differences. You're going to have differences of opinion. You're going to have differences of how you cook, how you manage a kitchen, how you determine parking and who parks where. And there are always going to be life things that come up. When you have more than one person, you are going to experience conflict.
Well, and that's like in a family or in a partner relationship or a business relationship. I mean, you can't have a relationship without conflict. So this just takes it to potentially dealing with a couple more people, because you might be living with 4 or 5 people. So it's a great way to learn how to deal with conflict, that's for sure.
It totally is. And I think that that's maybe what some people's fear is, in particular in North America, because we've just sort of shied away from actually dealing with what we're really thinking and feeling with the person that we're having a little bit of an issue with. Well, you can't not deal with it. You must deal with it here. Yeah. So it's such an amazing learning opportunity to become a better human. That's how I feel about it as a process, if we're willing. Not everybody might be, or they might think they are, but then when the rubber meets the road, as they say, or when you actually get into conflict with somebody, it does take some determination, some intention, some consciousness, some willing to look at what your own part of things are, because it takes 2, it takes 3. And one of the genius things about having conflict in an environment like this is there are witnesses.
Yes.
If you have a partnership, 2 women or a guy and a girl, or 2 guys, it's he said, or she said, he said, or she said, she said, and who's going to be the determining vote? Well, when you've got somebody watching, and it's not just 2, it changes the dynamic quite significantly, and I think for the better. I think that it ups the ante.
The witness, that word comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, for me, it's one of the things that just really resonates, because there are so many people going through life these days who feel that they don't have a witness.
Yeah.
You know, they're traveling by themselves, which is great. I mean, I'm a solo traveler. I'm single. I've been, all over the world and done things on my own. And every once in a while, you feel like, oh, man, you want someone to witness what you're going through, whether it's happy or sad or struggles. And as you say, when in the situation where you're living with a group of people and you have couples or partnerships, there is somebody else who's witnessing that relationship. So not only do you as an individual get more time to be witnessed, but you're also witnessing other people.
Totally.
And that just, God, I mean, when you think of it, that witnessing of people and of our experiences and our collaborative experiences gives us so much more juice, right? Like there's just something about being witnessed and being a witness that is just so juicy. We could talk about that for a whole hour.
We could talk about the whole, what it boils down to me, what this all boils down to me is about being authentic. And I guess that's one of my life goals, is to be the best me I can be. You know, Oprah talks about living your best life. And people like Brene Brown talk about being authentic and vulnerable and being yourself. And I think that, again, some people have shied away from this context because they're so afraid that they might not be able to be themselves. But I think that this provides the opportunity to go far deeper than you could ever go by yourself in your own context. And quite honestly, I lived on my own for about 15 years before I came into this context. And I was a bit afraid. I had no idea how it would work. And so many people were going, I would never do that. Are you crazy? That's just ridiculous.
Insane.
We're way too old for that. You need to be on your own. And the whole definition of success is you need to have certain things in place. And you have to have
your
it look a certain way, your own home, or be by yourself if you're single and you don't want anybody else, or somehow there's a little bit of stigma attached. But so to return to that, I lived alone for 15 years. I honestly think now, looking back on it, I had low-grade depression for at least a significant portion of those 15 years. And I didn't know what to do because I was so afraid to jump into to roommate situations again. And then, so now I'm on this path and I go, wow, I'm so happy that I found this. Yeah. So the conflicts and the kitchen is probably going to be your biggest source of conflict, because that's the room in the house. That's the space in the house where you're going to
the most mess, the most gathering.
And the most sharing.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the test of the metal.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the place where most of the things are going to come up. Not all of them, but there's also so much joy. I mean, I look at how we cook together. Our meal tonight, oh my goodness, we had about 15 different vegetables and an incredible sauce and tofu grilled that
and
had
no
been
leftovers.
Well, we're just vultures, but that's a whole other conversation. So we get to eat healthy organic food because we choose to, and it's so much more fun to eat healthy and make healthy choices when you're in a group than when you're just cooking for one.
Well, then again, it's that economies of scale.
Yeah.
Right? The money that you save on groceries when you're buying for 6 or 7 compared to when you're buying for one person.
Yeah.
You actually save money because you're buying in bigger volumes. So there are lots of benefits. Would you believe we've been talking for almost 20 minutes?
No.
I know it goes by so fast.
It does.
So let's just we'll definitely dive in deeper on a couple of other things on another podcast. But just quickly, what do you see for people what are like a couple tips you give for people who are thinking of this in the future, that might be like help them reach that tipping point, like, okay, I'm going to give it a try?
Great. I would say talk to some other people who've done it. Like, I know, Liza, you're always up for a conversation. I'm always up for a conversation. Talk to some people who've been there. We've been doing this for 6 years now, which is not that long, but it's long enough to really get some grounding.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely talk to some people who've done it. Talk to some of your friends who might have been thinking about it, or some like-minded people. Maybe you don't want to live with your friends because you know them too well already. So find out what some other people are thinking about in your sphere in some capacity. Look at WREN, come to some WREN meetings, meet some other women, maybe in men too, mostly women in WREN context, but just decide the kind of thing that you want for you. Like, if you really need a lot of space, get some help looking at the criteria to really be clear about who you are and what you want, because not everybody wants the same things. You want to live with people as much as possible who share the same values.
Absolutely.
You have to be really clear on your own.
Well, that sounds great, and I think we'll have to end it there for today because there's so much we could talk about. But yes, definitely get out and meet people who are in co-housing, meet people who have roommates. We're going to be posting some new resources on the WREN website fairly soon. We're partnering with an organization called Happy Pad, which
Such a great name.
I know,
hey?
which we love what they're offering, and we'll have them on a podcast soon as well. And there are just so many options, but get out and explore. Don't just say no, because we have people who never thought they'd live in co-housing who are like, I can't believe that I ever chose to live any other way.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that today. Thank you, Esther, so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Hopefully you'll come back and have a chat with me another day.
Absolutely.
And so we'll sign off. So this is Liza Rogers from WREN, the Women's Real Estate Network, saying have an awesome day, and we will see you next time. And I hope that you are enjoying what we're bringing you on the podcast. Visit us on wren.club. That's WREN.CLUB. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.
Remember, we're better together.
We are better together. Yeah, we're better together.